Okay, great. So the biggest question I get is that people ask me, what lab should I have my doctor order? You want to have them order the CBC with differential,
CBC,
differential,
differential.
metabolic panel, comprehensive metabolic panel. That's what they call it. The lipid panel, that's going to be your cholesterol, your triglycerides. You want them to order the thyroid panel. And within the thyroid panel, there's certain markers. And you want to make sure that they order at least, at the very bare minimum, order TSH, free T4, free T3, so free T3, reverse T3, TPO, TG antibodies. So that's like the bare minimum on the thyroid panel. Now, if you guys don't understand those, that's okay. Just write it down and then ask them to order those panels for you. Because that's, I mean, that is like a bare minimum baseline. And then if you want to order hormone panels, have them order the whole hormone panel. Just don't order estrogen or just don't order low T, T for testosterone. You want to order, the whole panel. You want to have the iron panel, HSCRP, which is an inflammatory marker. And next to the CBC with differential, the vitamin D panel, that is like critical. And they never order it, and it drives me crazy. So vitamin D panel, it's just one marker. It's like not a big deal, but go figure. Blood sugar components are glucose and A1C. Okay. Everybody got that? All right. So, I think of your health and my health as kind of a puzzle. And these are the puzzle pieces, these lab panels. They're the puzzle pieces that we can figure out what's going on with us. And it drives me crazy when you go to the doctor's office and they just give you like one little piece. It's not going to give you the full picture. It's not going to give you the full story. So today I'm going to teach you guys how to put those puzzle pieces together. And not only that, we're going to go over those 5 markers. We're going to look at what is hidden inside those 5 markers. What is the step-by-step process to heal when you have those 5 markers? But first, let's do a little housekeeping. Let's talk about normal lab ranges. So you go to the doctor, you're not feeling really well, they take your blood, they run it, and it comes back and they say, hey, it's normal. And you're like, okay, no, it's not. So their ranges are like this, right? They're very broad ranges. So what functional medicine has done is we've taken those ranges and we've narrowed them. So we brought that range down to a narrower functional range. And we want to thank Dr. Datis Karazian for doing this. About 35 years ago, he and his team did a bunch of research, and he's the kind of guy that has 9 trillion letters next to his name. So they did the research and they worked out these functional ranges, and then I've tweaked them over my experience of what I've been doing for the last 20 years. So I'm going to go through some examples so you can understand how that relates to your blood work. Okay. So today we're going to go over those 5 markers, plus we'll throw in another one just for fun. Okay, so let me pull up my PowerPoint. Okay, start from the beginning. And we already blew by that. Everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it. And I think if I hit enter, there we go, Dr. Kardazian right there. And we're going to look at the white blood cell count. So does everybody see the white blood cell count?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So First of all, let me just run through a little bit of housekeeping first. I want you guys to understand that I do not I do not look at these labs. I'm not looking for a diagnosis. Okay. I'm not looking at your symptoms. But the numbers, you want to see what's inside those numbers that's causing those symptoms. So we want to move you from, being unhealthy to healthy. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Because in the medical arena, they have, a diagnosis like this, and then they have symptoms here. But if your symptoms fall outside that diagnosis, they don't know what to do with you. They're not sure really what kind of medication to give you. They don't know what treatment programs to put you on, or they go chasing different medications. I mean, do you guys find that they'll say, okay, well, try this medication, or maybe you need more of that medication. So it just doesn't work. So we need to shift how we're thinking about this and figure out, okay, what is really causing the problem? What is the issue that's causing the problem? What is the interference in the body that's made me unhealthier? Because chasing diagnoses and chasing symptoms, honestly, it just hasn't worked. I mean, clearly. So we have this white blood cell count, and what we're looking at is in the functional medicine range, we're looking at between 5 and 8. And I would say that's not even a perfect range, because there are 5 more markers that we look at that are within this white blood cell count. But if you have like 9.4, or if your number is 4.1 or something like that, then what you're looking at is a low-grade infection. So that's telling us, okay, there's some sort of infection in your body. Doesn't tell us what kind of infection, it just tells us that there's a low-grade infection. Everybody got that?
Mhm.
Head nod. Okay. So what do these infections look like? Constipation, diarrhea, generally GI problems, okay? Heartburn, indigestion, bloating, diarrhea, things like that. They can also cause Hashimoto's, autoimmune diseases. That's another big one. And then joint pain. And along with all of this sort of, joint pain, muscle pain, so you got GI problems, you could have autoimmune problems, joint pain and muscle pain, and generally some sort of, fatigue, because your body is fighting an underlying infection. So go down to, you had the white blood cell count at the top, and then it has a bunch of other letters, your red blood cell count, mean corpuscular volume, and it's got a bunch of stuff. Then it has platelets, and then you're going to come to a slide, a marker called neutrophils. Everybody got that one?
I don't have that one.
Okay, then they did not run a differential on you.
Oh,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So just go ahead and take notes, and then
Okay.
next time you go in, ask them to run a differential.
Okay.
So with the neutrophil, that number should be a percentage, and it should be 60%. We're looking at a low-grade bacterial infection or a fungal infection. So neutrophils are at 60%, anything greater. And again, when people have these low-grade problems, they have those GI problems, the chronic fatigue, oftentimes, joint pain, muscle pain, constipation, those type of issues. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The next one would be lymphocytes. So the lymphocytes should be, the magic number is 30%. Anything greater than 30%, that means your body is fighting a low-grade viral infection. Doesn't matter what kind of virus, because of stuff we use, it kills it all. Handles viruses, parasites, bacterial infections, and fungal infections. So it does it all. But again, anything greater than 30%. What's interesting is, and then the biggest, problem with viral infections are chronic pain, joint pain, rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune diseases. These are all come with the high viral counts, that low-grade viral infection. So if you look at the numbers, you're seeing that the neutrophils should be at 60% and the lymphocytes should be at 30%. That's a 2-to-1 ratio. Everybody got that? So that's good. We want to see a 2-to-1 ratio. If we see stuff like 42 and 45%, so in the 40s for neutrophils and in the 40s for the lymphocytes, that's not good, because that means there is an autoimmune flare occurring. Okay, remember, autoimmune flare, 1-to-1 ratio. 2-to-1 ratio is good, 1-to-1 ratio, not good. The next marker are monocytes. Monocytes should be at 7%. Again, this is a viral indicator of a viral infection. Anything greater than 7%. These can lead to the same thing, chronic fatigue and autoimmune diseases. Generally speaking, with monocytes, it presents with a specific viral infection, and that's Epstein-Barr mononucleosis. I don't know if any of you guys had that when you were younger, but unfortunately I did. And the problem with Epstein-Barr is it can stay active in your body. So it lays dormant until you're under a lot of stress, and then it goes active. So it's one of those viruses that you have to keep dormant, because your body's constantly fighting these low-grade viral infections. And when your body's fighting these infections, what happens over time is, you have depression, and then it also puts you on the edge of, having some sort of anxiety as well, because your body's so busy fighting these infections all the time that it leaves you, exhausted. So we've covered the 3 of the 5 markers. How many of you learned something in the last 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, great. So the next couple of markers are eosinophils. Eosinophils are, the magic number is 3%. If that's elevated, then we're looking at food sensitivities or allergies or parasitic infection. And the next one after that are basophils, and that should be at 1%.
Is
So if you
this,
see either, sorry?
is this all showed with the differential CBC?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
These 5 markers are under the differential
All right.
portion of the lab. And they should be in percentages like this, or they could be in an absolute value. But they're in the United States, labs report them in the percentage. Okay? So if you're seeing something out of this range on basophils and eosinophils, then you're looking at a a parasitic infection. Most people, by the time they get to me, they've already done allergy testing. They've already done environmental, they've taken environmental toxins out of their home. I mean, because they're pretty sick. And those usually help to a certain extent, but they know something else is wrong. Okay. So I'm going to go and show you some examples because I want you to be able to see relative to, you know, other people's numbers, what it looks like, especially for you. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. P-G-H-A-T-A?
Oh, it's Peggy.
Sorry?
Peggy.
Peggy. Peggy.
Yeah.
I don't have, you don't have your numbers, but you can see, we'll go over some labs here so you can see what it looks like. So when you do get your labs, it'll be easier for you to recognize it.
Okay.
One more slide here is these 5 markers add up to 100. So you've got 60% for neutrophils, 30% for lymphocytes, 7% for monocytes, and 3% for the eosinophils and 1% for the basophils. Depending on the person's lab, because you're going to have decimal points in there, that's all going to add up to 100, right? So if that adds up to 100, and say your neutrophil count is at 88%, then something else has to be low. Does that make sense? So I had a client come into me. She had frozen shoulder. She had woken up with frozen shoulder one day. And she had gone to, you know, her medical doctors, and then they sent her for physical therapy. She had had injections. She went for chiropractic care, but her frozen, you know, she still had this frozen shoulder. So I'm like, okay, well, clearly physical medicine isn't working for you. So let's look at your labs. And this had been over a 6-month or 8-month period that she had been seeing these doctors, and she did have lab work done. So I pulled the lab work and I walked her through it and I looked at it and I'm like, okay, your neutrophils, her neutrophils were at 88%. That's really high. So I'm going to teach you the steps that I put her through, and her shoulder pain, you know, disappeared. Not only did her shoulder pain disappear, but her other joint pain disappeared. She had more energy. Her husband messages me and says, I feel like I have my wife back. All her mood swings she doesn't have mood swings anymore. She's got all this energy. I mean, what did you do? I'm like, well, I'll show you guys what I did. You just don't understand, you know, how miserable you are until you start to feel better. And you know, I would bet money that 90% of the people, they have some sort of chronic low-grade infection in their body. And that's what's causing these health concerns. It's really as simple as that. And it's really quite tragic as that as well. So let me get you into this guy here. He's actually a new client of mine, 60-year-old male with chronic fatigue and low testosterone. So this is what it looks like. They usually, as I said, they have the absolute values up here at the top. You can see I cut this off for HIPAA reasons, but the absolute values are usually at one portion, and then they have the other value that has the percentages, right? So his neutrophils are at 42%. His lymphocytes are at 41%. So remember we talked about that 1-to-1 ratio? That's being exhibited here. But looking down here, his monocytes are at, you know, 55.9, so 6%. But his eosinophils are at 9.4%. Now this guy he eats cleaner than I do. I mean, he has been sick and he wants to get well. And he's cleaned up his diet. He went through his house. He pulled all the environmental toxins. He doesn't use, you know, soaps like Tide anymore. You know, all that sort of stuff. He's really worked on his environment. So I know that this number here is not from food sensitivities or environmental sensitivities. This is actually got to be parasites. So
Mhm.
looking at this, what have we learned? We've learned that we've got an autoimmune component because it's these two numbers. I tried to point with my finger. I can't. These two numbers here are a 1-to-1 ratio. We know that the lymphocytes, it's a viral dominant problem, right? Because this number here should be 30% and it's 41.6. So he's got a dominant viral infection. He also has a parasitic infection going on as well. So we've learned, and I honestly, I would say he probably has a bacterial, but you can't see it because these numbers are so high. So but regardless, it doesn't matter. Whatever he's got going on, those three things that we found in his regular blood work that doctors generally always order. And it's right there. Those numbers, they tell us right there what's going on. Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Does a primary doctor know about this?
They're taught differently. They're taught about those wider ranges. Okay, so they don't look at it how functional medicine looks at it. Remember, I talked about in the beginning where we've taken that wide range. It's like trying to find your favorite restaurant, anywhere from California to New York. Good luck. You're not going to be able to find it. But if you narrow the range and say, okay, yeah, it's in, Orange County, then maybe, yeah, you can find that. You can find that restaurant. But if the range is so wide, then you don't see it. So that's why we bring that into a functional range. So we can say, okay, yeah, these numbers, if it falls outside of that range, then we're looking at a low grade type of infection, whether it's bacterial, viral, parasitic, or fungal. Does that make sense? Okay.
This is new to me. I don't know.
Pardon me?
It's all new to me.
Well, yeah, but I mean, when you get your CBC with differential, then you'll understand.
Okay.
I mean, so what do we do with this guy?
Yeah.
What we do is we want to, okay, so first of all, you cannot just go in and kill what's in there. Most people are like, yeah, kill it, get rid of it. I'm like, okay, no, we don't want to do that. We want to kill it, absolutely. But first, the people I've got coming to me, their bodies are depleted. They don't have the energy to heal. The mitochondrial in the cell is just exhausted. So first we have to prepare the body to be able to handle when you kill the infections. So the first month we gear up and we support the cells, we support the systems of the body. We want to go in and we want to open up those pathways. We have elimination pathways in our bodies. That's what our liver does. That's what our kidneys do. Those are elimination pathways. So those have to be decongested and opened up. So when you start to go in and kill these infections and destroy them, then that debris can leave your body. You do not want, this stuff hanging around, that you're getting rid of it. So that's what month 2 is all about. It's about purifying and destroying those infections. And then once that's done, we replenish the cells, we replenish the systems, the organs, the glands, the microbiome, which is your gut. We replenish the good bacteria in your gut. All makes sense? Okay, great. Let's go on to the next one. This is a 27-year-old female. She came to me with GI complaints and depression. This was a really cute girl. She was like, again, 27 years old. She was taking, I think she was on 7 pharmaceutical drugs, and she was probably on 20 different supplements. She was spending like $500 a month on supplements, right? She really wanted to get sick. I mean, she was really sick and she really wanted to get well. So her mother actually contacted me and said, you know, my daughter, her life is in shambles. She's newly married. Their marriage is at risk. They're thinking of, you know, throwing the towel in because of her health concerns. So I got her blood work, and let's look at what we find here. So when we look at neutrophils, so this is 3 different sets of labs. The first column, it was one date, the second column is another date, and the third column is a third date. So this was over, I think, 5 years. So it's really nice if I have more than one lab, and I'll show you why in just a second. So if I have more labs, that's even better than just having one set of labs, because it tells a story. It tells the whole, you know, I can see the whole person, and I can see the numbers and how they work. So we have neutrophils here at 47. We've got 61.6 and 60.4. Lymphocytes are at 43, 32.2, and 30.4. Monocytes are at 6, 4.2, 6.2. Eosinophils are 3, 1.4, 2.8, and basophils are at 1.4 and 0.2. So if we were just to look at these numbers, we would, at this, say I only got this, her second test and the second sets of tests. I would look at that and say, gosh, girl, I don't know why you're sick. I mean, the numbers look good. But because I have this first test, we can see that 1-to-1 ratio happening here. Everybody can see that, 47 and 43. We have this viral component with the lymphocytes. And then everything down here looks good. So again, we've got that viral component with the autoimmune flare. Everybody, does that make sense? Great. So again, how do we treat this? Same way. We go in and we support the cells, we support the systems of the body. We just then destroy that infection. And then in the 3rd month, we replenish everything and support the body with we support the cells, the systems, the glands of the body. The next lady was a 39-year-old woman. She was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And she had 4 teenage boys. So they were just running her ragged. And I don't know, have you guys ever seen that commercial with, if you have multiple sclerosis, if you have flares, you can get these injections and they'll stop the flares. So I see the commercial every once in a while and I'm like, okay, there's a reason why a person with multiple sclerosis is having flares. It's not just because. So when we look at her numbers, we've got 48.4, 60, 41, 38, and 40. Her lymphocytes are 44, 34, 39, 36, and 40, 34. Monocytes look good at 5, 4, 6, and 4. But the eosinophils, holy guacamole, she's got 13, 19. So high eosinophils. So she's got, again, this 1-to-1 ratio with the neutrophils and the lymphocytes. They're in the 40 range, so 48, 44. Her second set of tests looks okay, pretty good, but her third and her fourth, again, you can see that it's that autoimmune flare going on. And then we've got these parasites down here. So we've got the autoimmune component, we've got the viral component, and we have the parasites. So this poor lady, she was going in to the monthly to get these injections that I talked about that are supposed to handle the flares. She was still getting the flares. She wasn't getting any benefit from these injections. In fact, they would put her in bed. She was bedridden for like 3 days a month. So, and she's got these, 4 boys, and she's like, I cannot deal. Number one, I can't deal with it. I just can't. So we put her on the program. Her program was like a 12-month program because she had a lot going on. But if I was to treat her today with the new products that we have, I would put her on the same program, the 3-month program, the 90-day program, because, we're going to support the system in the first month. We'll go in and kill those parasites. Again, don't know what type of viral infection she has, but it doesn't matter. The supplements that we're using are so amazing. They go in there and they just kill everything. They're not like, because they're herbal and they're oils, they're natural. They're not like an antibiotic where, certain antibiotics target certain things. That's why sometimes you're on Cipro and other times you're on tetracycline or you're on, penicillin, because that is what it targets. It ruins your microbiome, but those target certain bacterias. The supplements we use, they go in and they destroy the bacteria, the viral, the fungal, and the parasitic infections. So that's pretty cool. And then this last one here, this was actually her son. He's a 17-year-old male. He was falling asleep in class. His teachers called her up and said, hey, he's a great kid. He's falling asleep. Something's going on. Can you, find out what's going on? So she brought him in. We had lab work done and it came back and everything looked good except when you get down to the monocytes. So remember we talked a little bit about monocytes. Called her up and I said, look, call the lab, see if they still have his blood. If they have his blood, run the Epstein-Barr virus and see if that test comes back positive or negative. So that's what they did. They ran it and sure enough, he had mononucleosis, Epstein-Barr. So he's a young guy, so his was pretty quick. His program was pretty quick. But again, same thing. You go in, you support the cells, you open those pathways. Then we went in, we killed with Epstein-Barr, you can't kill it because all you can do is suppress it. And then he's taking vitamin D with this amino component. So he takes 10,000 IUs of that a day, and so does his mom. And that keeps them feeling great. They can really tell a difference when they do not take their vitamin D. Both of them, they know that they just have to take it. All right. Does anybody have any questions? No? Okay. So does that make sense? Can you guys see how those numbers, what we're looking at, and then how it's laid out and the simple process to heal from that is? It's so simple when we break it down and we look at it like that. So let me tell you, I don't know why you guys were on the call, but there must have been a reason. Did you find anything in what I discussed today in your blood work, if you have blood work, that you didn't know before? So those of you that have blood work, were you able to find something in it that you didn't know about? Okay. So if there was a quick 90-day program that could tackle the exact same thing that you see in your blood work or that you're having symptoms of, would you guys be interested in knowing about that?
Well, I never had a CBC differential
Okay.
done.
let me tell you about how these 90-day programs tackle these exact things that you're either experiencing symptoms from or that you're finding showing up in your blood work. Okay. So what we've done is we've been able to take the 6 and 12-month programs and condense that down into a 90-day program. These supplements that they just came out on the market, they're amazing. And we've been able to put together protocols that handle any problems that people have. If a person has the elevated marker, just one elevated marker in the CBC, then this is the program for them. So if there's an elevated marker in your CBC, this would be the program that I would recommend for you. It's a 90-day program. And what it does is it goes in and it supports the cells in the first month. We destroy the infections in the second month. And then in the third month, we replenish those cells and the systems of the body. Everything you need to be successful with this program is included, and it's shipped to your door. The supplements are shipped directly to your door. They come in a box. One box for 1 month, one box for the second month, and one box for the third month. And what's really nice is that they have packets inside those boxes. So these are already pre-packaged. So you have your morning packet, and then you also have your evening packet. So it's all done for you. There's also the patient guide. It's a hard copy patient guide, so you can make notes on it. You don't have to download it from your computer. It's already included with the supplements. And I've just spent like the last hour going over your CBC, but wouldn't it be great if I could also go over your other blood work with you? And I would be able to do that if we have a Facebook group to support, your healing as you're going through a program like this. I have a Facebook group that my clients join. And in that Facebook group, it's a very safe environment. I teach you your different panels. So we talked about the hormone panels, or we talked about the thyroid panel. So I go in and I teach you what all that means. Also, I'm pretty excited about it because I go in and I can go have you pull out all the environmental toxins in your house. So it's really cool. And when a person goes through these programs, it's not like I can just send you these boxes and say, okay, good luck. No, you're going to have questions. Things are going to come up because these are very, very powerful supplements. They're going to go in there and you're going to have questions, and, things can get a little bumpy. So with the Facebook group, I'm able to support you. And there's other people in the program, and as they move through their healing process, they can support others as well. So everything you need is shipped directly to your door. And I also include in it a cookbook that has an elimination diet in it. And I highly, highly, highly recommend you incorporate that into this healing process because it just makes it that much more powerful. In the cookbook, there's recipes, wonderful recipes. There's meal plans, there's shopping lists, there's snack guides. It has it. So that is very, very cool. Okay. So I want to let you guys know that the way we design these programs, the supplements you take will take care of like 95% of anything that I see in blood work on a daily basis. I've seen literally thousands of labs, and you can literally have the whole body healing program in 90 days, no matter what your symptoms are. As long as you have that one marker that's off, then this is for you. So like I said, the 12-month program, I charge $12,000 for those individual programs, and I'm no longer doing them. I want to help as many people as possible with these new programs. So it's going to be very affordable for people, and anybody can join in because there are payment options. And these payment options will fit any budget. So instead of being $12,000, it's a one-time payment of only $1,800. So you save $300 if you make the one-time payment, or you can do 3 payments at $700. You get everything we talked about, including the supplements. And if you go to WBH, precisebloodanalysis.com, that's where you can enroll. And if you have any questions, there's a Calendly link at the very, very bottom of the page
They do it.
where you
They
can
do it
schedule an
like
appointment,
how many
chat
tests,
with me.
blood test, poop test.
And then I also want to
everything.
show you guys the
That's it. I didn't-
payment options that are available. So if you go to the very, very bottom of WBH, precisebloodanalysis.com, there's a payment option of $1,800. And if you click on that, this is what pops up. And over here, you can see that there's different types of payments that you can do. But if you click on Affirm allows for payment options of 36-month payment, 12-month payments, or 6-month interest-free payments. So if you're thinking about this, I'd be really honored to have you on the inside. We're going to start this cohort in 2 weeks. That will allow for people to receive everything. You know, we got to ship this stuff out and everything. Some people have to get their money together. So that will allow time for everybody to get it all together. And then we'll start in 2 weeks. Okay. So you would want to go to WBH at precisebloodanalysis.com. And whatever you guys, it's totally up to you, but I want to tell you, you're worth it. Your health is worth it. And I want you to imagine, you know, what your life would be like if you didn't have the symptoms. I mean, clearly there was a reason why you're on this list. You must have either a symptoms or a diagnosis or both. And just imagine what your life would look like without those concerns, how your relationships would change, what your summer would be like without those concerns. I mean, we could get this done by summer. That's how cool it is. 90 days, you can do a lot in 90 days. All right. So go to WBH at Precise Blood Analysis. We're going to start this in 2 weeks. I'm going to be here for the next, 15 minutes. If you guys want to, if you have any questions,